This episode is supported by the American Resource Center, or the ARC. ARC is the first American space of its kind in Europe, and it exists for one reason: to connect Serbian talent with American opportunity. Whether you're 15 or 35, building in tech, entrepreneurship, AI, or creative industries, ARC gives you direct access to programs, mentorship, and networks that used to require a plane ticket to Silicon Valley. It's not just a space, it's a bridge, and all programs are free, and you can find them at Ložionica in Belgrade, and you can start building your path beyond borders.
If you're a startup founder from the Balkans, you'll eventually need a US company to sell into the US market, use Stripe, or raise VC money. But here's the problem. US lawyers charge between $600 and $1,000 an hour. Opening a bank account as a non-resident is a nightmare. You need a US phone number, operating address, and there are a lot of hidden costs plus lawyer lingo you can't understand. This is why we have partnered with Neobase. They are a team of Balkan founders who have been exactly where you are. They're 10 times cheaper than US lawyers, and they handle everything end to end, from the corporation, bank account setup, tax filings, and basically leaving you to focus on your own business. Head to neobase.co, book a free consultation, and mention Scale SE to get 10% discount off your LLC or C Corp setup.
Today's guest is Danilo Đukanović, the CEO and co-founder of Recrewty, a Techstars-Backed startup reinventing how companies hire and develop talent using behavioral science and AI. He's gone from Montenegro to the US through programs like YTILI and Techstars, proving that global innovation can start right here in the Balkans. We'll talk about his journey, we'll talk about how data can eliminate hiring guesswork, and why understanding potential matters more than what's written on a CV. Danilo, welcome to the show.
Hey Vlad, thanks for having me, and nice quarter zip, by the way.
Thanks, man. All right, we're gonna start with the first moment when the idea for Recrewty started. So you told, or I heard a couple of stories about a painful, pointless interview that you had at the beginning of your career. How did that interview look like, and what exactly clicked that day? And how did that frustration turn into the vision of Recrewty?
Oh yes, that was a super funny situation. It wasn't exactly the very beginning of my career, because a year past my graduate studies, I already been working as a HR consultant and both as a podcast host, like an internal consultant for one NGO. So I had this side project, which was a full-blown 2 months selections for a part-time role, coincidentally also for a host of the podcast. So out of 40 candidates, which were mostly journalists, I only had the right qualifications for it. I thought that I got this very nice side job for me at that point, which would be a nice networking and fun little side project. But then I ended up in a meeting with the CEO, which I thought was going to be the onboarding meeting, which ended up being a 3-hour long interview, where I was getting asked questions about how good of a student was I at the elementary school, what does my father do for a living, questions that make absolutely no sense. And bear in mind, at that point, I have been working as a recruiter. So I was the guy on the other side of the table, and I knew that you don't need to be an asshole to close the candidate. It's not your job. Your job is to make the best possible decisions. And at that point, it was frustrating a bit. It was, again, fun to have that 3-hour interview, but something clicked there when I realized that people, CEOs, HR directors, and etc., do not necessarily have the right tools to make the best possible, let's say, data-driven and even scientific decisions on who the right fit is. They are paranoid, and they feel that they need to check every little detail in the talk, and that doesn't need to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, it's either that, where they want to check everything, or they just want to hire the first person that they hear is good, which is also problematic. And we see this with founders where they get a recommendation from a person like, oh, I think you should definitely work with this guy, and then you don't go through any kind of HR process or anything so that you can check and validate if that person is correct or not. And then you just hired the wrong person, usually because you didn't put in the right HR structures, right? All right, cool. So at that point, what year was that?
I think it was 2020, 2021.
2020-21. Okay. So then the idea for Recrewty started. Where is Recrewty today? Like, how many clients do you guys have? What have you guys gone through?
It was quite the journey from that
I
point
believe
on.
so.
You've been there from the very beginning. You know what I'm talking about. It was at first it's a fascinating learning process filled with so many mistakes, pivots, but also amazing growth. Currently, we are at the point where we are mostly. Sorry about that. We're mostly serving corporate clients, banking, telco, and retail industry. We have 17 clients here in the Balkans. Majority of leading logos and branches here in Montenegro, Serbia, and Bosnia. We're also right now closing some clients in the MENA region and also closing some pilots and partnerships in the US. But we're mostly here where we have established a basis and thought leadership in the Balkans, which we will treat as a basis for expansions within those logos, increasing the revenue per customer, etc. Really like expanding what we are doing for the current customer base, while also expanding to the US market.
Why the US market?
It's a best place to be in, firstly. And secondly, it's filled with so many opportunities. I have been thinking a lot about the several markets where we have potentials to do a warm landing, such as, Italy or UK. US is just, when everything is put on paper, the best place for startups. For example, Italy is a great place, but it's filled with administration. The sales process is very, very long. UK, for example, in our industry, in recruitment, it's one very small integrated market that has incredibly good competition. So they have this very high density of brains per capita, and it is very difficult to stand out in that market if you're not a local there. While in the US, the market is okay, the leading global market. It's one market, but while spending a month and a half there, I realized that people buy more locally than we would have guessed. So if you take one city in the US and you just focus your community there and establish thought leaderships and trust there, you can rock it. Just Texas is like a 7th or 8th economy in the world. So when people attack US market, they don't attack it as whole. They need to take one city that is the right market for them and double down on that. So that was the reason why we're doing it. Okay,
cool. So for everything that you're doing, you're kind of talking about this thought leadership. Like, what does thought leadership mean to you, and how does that affect the sales and marketing of Recrewty to mid-size and bigger customers in a specific area?
Oh, perfect question. Depending on who you sell to, depending on who your customers are, the market is changing. Like, I don't see outbound mass campaigns working anymore, because it is easier for people to create emails than for people to read them, so everybody is getting bombarded.
That's true.
Yes, and people are buying from people they trust, not from people that are just selling to them or pushing them. They're buying from people who are going to be their advisors, their friend who will help them achieve the visions that they want to be. So if you want to do that, the best possible way is to have a network and to go through referrals and warm intros. But if you want to scale, the best possible thing to have as a extended hand or an addition or replacement for the network is establishing thought leadership. Pick a niche, provide value, have a community around it, and be a trusted person inside that community. So it's more about not selling, but falling in love with the problem, with the customers, and then positioning yourselves as a person of trust regarding that problem and to that niche.
All right. And how do you guys do that? How do you establish thought leadership? Is it a combination of different channels like LinkedIn, email, newsletters, podcasts, whatever?
It's all of the things that you mentioned. We're doing basically all of that. LinkedIn is a very strong communication channel for us. But one thing that I saw is incredibly underrated here in the Balkans, and that I learned while in the United States, is in-person contact. So in-person meetings and in-person meetups, those are the things where magic happens. And I'm not speaking about conferences where probably I think every conference it likely looks the same.
Yep.
You know, huge logos and the panel discussion, etc. That's nice. But I'm mostly talking about getting 15, 20, 30 people who are close to you, who are your business network, who share the same pain, who are from the same community, and just getting them to a semi-structured discussion and even aperitivo or a dinner. People in the US do it on a weekly basis with their local business network, and those are the moments where magic happens. Deals are being made, people meet their co-founders that they spend the next 10 years with. They have this ripple effect where they connect with additional people they need to connect with. So that's the thing that we are starting to practice recently. Just last night here in Belgrade, I gathered 15 people because majority of my network is here in Belgrade, the people I work with from the HR. We gathered my clients from the corporates here, my strategic partners, even some people who I know that are in the HR tech that I have been speaking online for a couple of months that I know share the same values and visions. And just the conversation was awesome. It's those kind of practice that have compounding effect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of the most interesting strategies that startups often don't think about is tying themselves to a specific conference where they know a lot of people are gathering there, and if they do like outbound or anything, any kind of outreach to specific customers, what they can also do is they can focus that for a specific conference and say, hey guys, we're also organizing a dinner focused on people who are thought leaders in HR, for example, since you are an HR startup, and then bringing them to like a side event, a small dinner gathering or whatever. And you are the person that they will turn to tomorrow because they know that you are the guy who the HR community kind of surrounds around with, right? So that's definitely a really good and interesting strategy. What are some of like the strategies? I mean, it's been like 4 years of you running Recrewty, maybe even more.
Three,
right?
no, it's
Okay.
three in total, I think. Yeah.
Three in total, but 5 years in total since you had the idea and since you started thinking about it, right? What are some of the like bad moments or failures and mistakes that you've gone through where you forced yourself to rethink about the product, the target customers, or even the whole strategy of Recrewty?
Well, that was definitely a year ago. That was the moment where Recrewty turned from a side hustle or a hobby to something that's full time. So we wasted a lot of our time in the beginning on a wrong ICP.
Okay, which was?
We thought because SMBs, smaller companies, are the underserved segment in this niche, we thought that's what we are going to do. But that was a complete flop. We needed to educate the market. The sales process was just pushing and not talking to the right people. Accidentally, we found out who we serve best because at that point it was quarter 4. All of the co-founders have their own jobs because before going full time you need to make your living, and that was the make it or break it moment for the company. So in the middle of November we have the first enterprise deal ever. Will it close or not? We are running out of funds. We can't really commit. That was the moment where I gathered my team and told them, "You guys, I know that you are working 15 hours a day with your obligations with Recrewty too. Can we double down and do this right for the next 3 months? And if it's not working, we return to our full-time jobs. But if it's working, we go all in." And it worked in the end. We closed the first enterprise client. Just from them using us, we actually realized what problems we are solving and for who. And also coincidentally, while closing that client in the same week, we got accepted to Techstars, and we raised a very, very big grant for research on and the option to create our own proprietary AI models with psychometrics. So that was like a week that completely turned everything.
All right. Amazing. talk to us about Techstars then. You are a very specific startup founder. You are scaling your business from Montenegro, but you also had the pleasure of spending a lot of time in Italy and also spending a lot of time in the US. So talk to us about Techstars, and then we're going to talk about like the different startup ecosystems that exist in the Balkans and, for example, Italy and the US. That's also very interesting for us. So yeah, Techstars. You were able to manage to get in Techstars. Techstars invests $120K dollars. You had to open a US entity, and you did that through Techstars Torino.
Torino, yes.
Torino, yeah. How did that look like? Talk to us about Techstars.
That's one of the best experiences ever in my life, and maybe the best education that I received in those 3 months. I think the ecosystem and the education was more valuable than the investment itself. And I think only after Techstars, the 3 of us co-founders who went through it could say that we are entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. Because the ecosystem there, the people that the leadership there has surrounded themselves with, that's the real value. I know some co-founders that went through Techstars from in different cities. Not everybody has the same experience. It's about the people. So the Techstars managing director, Martin, is the most incredible leader that I have probably ever met. He had 3 exits, he invested in unicorns, he uplifted communities in Berlin and in Amsterdam, I believe. So they got him to Torino a couple of years ago to do the same for them, and just his Techstars team, then the mentors he gathered, more than 100 of them, just incredible. And they didn't let you out of Techstars until you graduated as a founder on every possible point that consists in early stage startups. Like, they are going to teach you how to pitch. We went through basically like military grade training for pitching. It was crazy.
And you were like, during those 3 months, were you most of the time in Torino physically?
Yes. Yes. In Ogiere, in Torino, it was very awesome. There was 12 of us startups, 2 or 3 founders per startup. We are sharing the office for 3 months, working for like 12 to 13, 14 hours a day. We're basically living together. The sense of community was super strong. We're still all friends. But yeah, just you have to go through every basics. So from pitching to having a financial model to having to learning how to talk to your customers. Then they also connect you with a lot of people. All in all, incredible experience.
Mm-hmm. All right. What did you learn during those 3 months about Italy and the Italian startup ecosystem, and how they are different from the Balkans?
Well, honestly, they're not so different from the Balkans, to be quite honest. The Techstars bubble was awesome.
Yeah.
But Italy is also quite slow, and they're not optimizing for efficiency. I think the Balkans are even more optimizing for efficiency than Italians are. One of the mentors in Techstars was a guy who was one of the not founders, but core team from Movit, from the Israeli unicorn. So he was a head of customer success or sales, one of the best salesmen that I met. He used to tell me, when I had the idea of now doing a warm landing to Italian market, he made me constantly repeat, for pizza and pasta, go to Italy, but for business, go to US. So honestly, I learned that it's the truth based in my skin. Italians, I think, buy from the Italian ecosystem. There is a lot of HR tech startups there that there's a huge boom of startups that offer like mentorship, coaching, something where people are spending time with people, and that somehow I see amazing founders, amazing startups, their services are great. But that's something that I see, that boom is very coherent with their culture. While on the other hand, my startup that offers efficiency, that offers time cuts, and that really didn't resonate well with them. But that messaging landed absolutely amazing in the US, for example.
Okay. So the famous quote is, for pizza and pasta, go to Italy, for business, go to US. All right, cool. Amazing. You've also been part of Scale SC Accelerator program, which is our accelerator program that we are running. and that was this year. Yeah, how was your experience with that, and what were the end results of the program with Scale SE? And a lot of founders ask themselves, should I join an accelerator? There's so many accelerator programs out there. There's also a difference between an accelerator and an incubator program. Most of the accelerator programs in the Balkans, at least, call themselves an accelerator. They're actually an incubator. An accelerator typically gives you either capital and or really good mentors who are going to follow you along the way to accelerate your business, not idea stage, but like you have product market fit, you have some customers, and you need to accelerate that. So why did you want to join both Scale SE Accelerator after you've gone through like the Techstars example? And yeah, what were the end results of our program?
I've been through a lot of accelerators, and actually, as you mentioned, maybe through programs that call themselves accelerator but are not really accelerators. Especially early on, the Techstars gave me the framework on which to evaluate what I need, just a benchmark. You know. Scale SE was, in my opinion, a different stage for growth. Techstars was for mainly pre-seed, and from idea stage to getting the first customers to just setting up a basis, while Scale SE was focused on US expansion, and it was an amazing experience. If there's one thing that I could advise to founders is don't accept an accelerator if it doesn't require in-person engagement. I've been through online accelerators, I've been through in-person accelerators. The difference is huge. So it might be a drag to go away from your hometown or abandon for some time your family or your business, but it really it's worth it. With Scale SE, it was awesome. It was probably the most value-packed week that I had. It was very intense mentorship. The only flaw of the accelerator was that it lasted too short. It was a first batch. It was a first batch, which is understandable. I know what MVP is, but yeah, that was a really good experience. And most importantly, it followed up with value. We got connected with mentors. We closed deals with those mentors. We're in talks with those mentors, joining as a member of an advisory board, helping out. So those mentors continued providing value, and those are not mentors who are lightly taken, or like really people who scaled companies from 0 to 100 million ARR and stuff.
Yeah. Amazing. And yeah, for batch 2, where the program is going to be longer, and we also have the new prize that the winning startup is going to actually go to San Francisco for a week as well. So,
can I join the second time as well?
You can join the competition. So you might be the startup that's going to get the prize to go to San Francisco. All right, cool. I want to talk a bit about your background and like trends in HR globally. So your background is psychology and behavioral science. You had the pleasure of doing your master's degree at LSE, London School of Economics. How does this academic foundation help you solve one of the most broken business processes, which is hiring?
Very much. It's very related to what I do, and there is this bridge between the universities that I went to and my company. So we are collaborating with University of Novi Sad of validation of our models. So professors and PhDs of psychometrics from Novi Sad are working with us. And then with LSE, my postgraduate research, which was published in Frontiers in Psychology, was actually conducted in partnership with Recrewty. We used chatbots and psychometric tests in a couple of selections. And we wanted to see, does AI or traditional tests result in better candidate choices? The result was that tests are better. They are, if you want to maintain quality, a better choice. But if you want to maintain speed, AI is the right choice. So it's a trade-off. So going through behavioral science course, specifically behavioral science and technology. That was my specialization. The things that I have been learning there, the most recent studies and etc., were completely relevant to what we do at Recrewty. In fact, my professor and mentor stayed as a member of the advisory board at Recrewty, a guy who's a pioneer in the AI and behavioral science space.
There's also like a huge debate about using AI in the hiring process, the risks versus the opportunities. The risks, of course, being, what if AI helps me hire the wrong person? The opportunities being, hey, I have 20,000 people who have just applied for this one position. I'm going to use AI, right? And to figure out what are the best candidates for this specific role for my company. So would love to know your thought on that, and how do you talk with customers and how do you sell them Recrewty when they ask you, like, what if your AI model makes helps me make the wrong hiring decision?
Well, awesome. We had a long discussion just yesterday at data science conference at a panel about that. Here's my 5 cents on that after many years of studying and practicing it. We are at the peak of hype, but also at the peak of fear. And people are worried about completely wrong things. People worry about the bias and glorify human in the loop. So, like, humans aren't sexist, racist, and nationalistic in their own regard. In case your human in the loop in your company is either Jesus Christ or Socrates, your human in the loop is more biased than AI. So if you look at diversity choices, AI makes more diverse hires. But if you want to be worried about AI, you should be worried about 2 things. One, its quality, and the second thing is candidate experience, and therefore your employer branding. So I have this classification that I'm trying to popularize with AI. I'm trying to publish something with the UK Business Psychology Association, and I call it's a framework on when, which AI, and to which degrees to automate, depending on the roles that you have. So I have these 3 types of roles. I call them swap out roles, scale up roles, and don't mess this up roles.
Okay. Can you
absolutely
explain each one of those?
Absolutely, my pleasure. So the swap out roles. Think about hospitalities, most of service industries, and manufacturing.
Okay.
Those roles, you want to answer questions. Do they have a driver's license? Can they work in shifts that we are searching for? Are they criminally convicted? Are they speaking the language? And can they show up tomorrow? And they are also very replaceable, unfortunately. So for those roles, the evidence is clear. There's low stakes per individual. You can automate everything. There is embarrassingly clear evidence that there is no need for HRs to look at resumes and do manual phone calls for those kinds of roles, just because of the volume. But then, if you look at scale-up roles, think about banking, middle management in retail, for example, in Coca-Cola. My dad started out as a merchandiser. That's the guy who's putting Coca-Cola in the right places in the shop. He ended up as a regional sales director. So for those industries, you want to hire a person for their mindset, for their potential, personality, cultural fit. And ideally, you want to have the career path of succession and growth.
Okay.
You mess that up with AI. There is no way that AI is going to choose the right person. You need to combine different methods, traditional methods. You need to be armed with multiple tools. So, for example, for those industries, the future I see, and those are mainly the industries that we are working with. I see small and elite HR teams who are armed with a series of tools that helps them with everything.
And Recrewty is one of those tools.
Recrewty is one of the more conservative tools with AI, and so that's why we're working with those people. We use traditional methods that are scientifically validated to assess candidates, and we use AI as co-pilots. That's what makes it best for those roles.
Okay.
And the third one, don't mess this up roles. And I saw this happening a lot in the US. Think about executive recruitment, like Big Four partner or aspiring CTO. Imagine if you're a CTO, So you're extremely technically, you're tech savvy. And imagine if I throw an AI interviewer at your face, what are you gonna do? You're either gonna completely leave because I don't value your time,
Yeah.
or you are gonna game my system because you're smart enough for that, and you have your own AI agents that can game it. So in that industry, in those roles, what I see happening in US and what will happen here is people regressing to doing things manually, to doing things like they have done 30 years ago, like recommendations, phone calls, in-person interviews, networks, and etc.
Yeah. Coffee, lunch.
That's right.
Okay. So the scale-up roles is what Recrewty is focused on.
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. What does ethical AI in HR look like to you? Yeah.
Would I say ethical? Maybe I would say best practices, because when we really say ethical, it means that we're speaking about the hiring that's fair, that does not discriminate, and we're speaking about the hiring that is okay for a candidate. And as I mentioned, there is a plethora of evidence that just show that candidates do not prefer having AI as a front face. So you're always gonna damage your employer branding a bit if you use AI interviewers, etc. Now the question is, do you want to have that trade-off? Sometimes that's all right, sometimes it's not. We're talking about ethical AI. It needs to be transparent. So you need to. It's going to be in laws, of course, and compliance, that you need to tell your candidates and that you're using AI. And then there is a lot of things that you have to do in the back end when you're validating your solutions. You need to make sure that your tests or AI systems are not discriminating on the basis of gender, age, or race, for example.
Does that happen? Can AI screw that up?
No, actually it's better. As I mentioned, it's better than people. There has been a recent study. I can send it to you so you can put a little link that compared the bias of people with the bias of AI. So people have the bias to prefer their own race and people that look like them. You know, people that will more likely hire you. In US, there was this study that said that people would more likely hire Jack than Muhammad with the same CV. So whitewashing, like white sounding name. For AI, there was this bias, but bias that had this sort of intersectionality in it. For some reason, AI models, at least the one that rely on the LLMs, mostly preferred hiring black females.
Okay, why?
Don't ask me. It's a black box. It's currently what those study shows. So there are a bit of bias, but sort of more structural bias. That's not as unpredictable and as discriminatory as human bias.
Okay, so we're gonna share a link where ChatGPT is being very discriminatory. That's nice. That's AI in today's era. All right, cool. So I wanted to ask you, like, you're a startup building from the Balkans. What are like the biggest challenges scaling a startup from the Balkans or from Montenegro?
Lack of ecosystem.
Okay.
One of the things that is available in Italy and in US that I experienced, no, even in London where I studied, it's a strong community. It's a possibility to connect with people going through the same struggles and to get access to just early interviews. We had luck, for example, one of the pivotal moments at early stages was getting involved with ICT Hub here in Serbia. That connected us to a lot of HRs that can give us feedback on our idea, that can help us shape the product, shape the vision. So, but that was, I see that more as an exception rather than a rule. That was, we were lucky. So there is a lack of systematized support in forms of ecosystem and connections. But at the same time, there is this plethora of equity-free funding in forms of grants that sometimes get inaccessible because there are, serial entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They use the funding not to scale the business, but to spin another year of being an idea stage founder.
Yeah. And we have a lot of those. What about selling to customers and having recurring revenue business models and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's not possible here, unfortunately. What's your first thing that comes to your mind when you hear software as a service? It's the business model.
The business model.
Subscription, right?
Subscription, recurring revenue, yeah.
From a reason that's beyond me, and okay, that's probably it's not for the fault of our customers, it's maybe procurement or some policies. Reason beyond me, our customers and companies in the Balkans have a really hard time to buy subscriptions and pay for subscriptions with a credit card, which makes it really inconvenient because you have to do manual invoicing. You can't use Stripe, and I hope the situation is going to get better. But when we tried adapting the payment systems with some regional vendors, I mean, it's not usable. It's not fit for software as a service. And you can see that the reason behind it is a room of people who are talking about how they can shape that solution, and the majority of them feeling obliged to say no. That's not how things are being done around here. Like, there is no logical reason not to have recurring revenue. I mean, it's mind-boggling, right?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of cash flow, it's much easier to pay on a monthly basis than to pay on a yearly. But it's just a situation here in the Balkans. So mostly your customers, you send them an invoice for a yearly payment, and they pay up front, and that's it, right?
Yeah, we mostly, from when we close an annual deal, it's like that. We usually start up with a pilot of 3 months to prove the worth and track KPIs. For some smaller customers that we have currently, that we like as a persons, we created this model where we have our accountant check out their usage, and on every month send a manual invoice, which is more of a drag for us, to be quite honest. But,
that sounds painful for the accountant.
Yeah, but we like them, and they're using Recrewty proficiently, so that will keep happening temporarily.
Yeah, and that's probably the reason why you guys want to scale to the United States, because that's not going to be an issue in the US, especially since you went through Techstars, you have a US entity already. Talk to us about your latest trip to the United States and joining YTILI program. What is YTILI? And yeah,
YTILI is this very nice program that I heard from you.
Oh, really?
You might recall it.
Yeah, I do.
It's a great program funded by the US State Department that checks out 40 to 50 entrepreneurs from Europe, one or two from each country. And then they send out groups of 5 to 7 people in the ecosystems in cities that they believe their business will grow the most. They connect them with the right network, and they assign the right mentor.
How did that look like for you?
It sounds awesome. A lot of things can go wrong, to be quite honest, because there are a lot of people involved. But for me, I have no reason to complain, because I have incredible luck in that kind of process. I ended up in Austin. It's the best possible ecosystem that I could have ended up. I can't complain about my accommodation. My apartment was awesome that they arranged. I was with the University of Texas, that has connected me with a lot of people. I established so much connection, so many partnerships, and most importantly, I got the best possible mentor ever. So some people got mentors who were treating them as free interns.
Yep.
To be honest, and that's so funny, because a lot of people coming to YTILI are like full-fledged entrepreneurs. Like a lot of them are already millionaires or exited founders, or people who are handling like hundreds of employees. My mentor was just so amazing. She's currently our strategic partner and distributor for the US. She's a lady who has been working as an executive HR consultant and as an HR director for IBM, Heineken, Adecco, like you name it. And you have access to that kind of a person for 5 weeks to work alongside you on your business. Like, it was super intense. It was waking up at 5 a.m. to handle your European clients and then working until late in the night with the US. Does that ring a bell? Sounds familiar?
It completely does, yeah. How did being in that US startup ecosystem or that Texas startup ecosystem reshape your mindset on ambition, speed of execution, and
On all of those things, it was sort of this cultural effect. It just gets you to think bigger, and it gets you a peek into the future, if that makes sense. So
In what way?
I was driving in an autonomous vehicle in Austin called Waymo.
Waymo,
In the Balkans, when I sent a video to people, they freaked out. When you go to US, you get a peek of the future because they are thinking a couple of years in advance. And being in the US helped me reshape the messaging of my product, so strategic positioning. Because in the US, AI is no longer differentiating you. Your AI, nice. You have a phone that's touch screen, everybody has it. So positioning Recrewty not as this tool that is AI-based that helps you optimize the process, automate hiring, etc. No. Recrewty is your partner, your co-pilot for mapping out future-ready skills and future-ready teams and helping you promote, hire, and upskill the best possible people within your company and from external selections. So when we nail down that kind of messaging after dozens and dozens of talks in the US with HRs, when we came back here, it was like it was almost physically noticeable difference on how people react to our pitch, and it's basically the same thing, just communicated differently.
But the US has that skill set of providing you an ecosystem that's going to help you figure out how to just communicate, right? And your communication style probably changed. The biggest problem is when you come back, those things it feels like they are running away from you in a sense. When I came back from YTILI, I think I had a couple of weeks of adaptation period. I was like, now I'm here again. Why am I not there?
It's called the jet lag.
It's called jet lag, but it's also called completely different ecosystem and mindset. And that just when I came back from YTILI, my appetite for the size of the company I want to build just completely changed. That's why we started Scale SC Accelerator. That's why we started this podcast and all the other things that we're doing, the community as well. So based on that, like what is your moonshot vision for Recrewty, and how does hiring look like in 5 to 10 years?
We are definitely going to. One thing is for certain: we are going to dominate the Balkan market in our niche. That is pretty much the road to that is becoming very certain. We have this customer basis, we have the foot in the door with leading logos, we proved that it works, and now it's just about acquiring every branch of logo that we have and increasing the value that we are providing to them. We are also creating our own proprietary AI models, and you wrote an article for the Bloomberg about Mercor. We are also, our CTO is going to talk about it tomorrow at the Data Science Conference. It was a secret up until now, but we are very close to publishing the benchmark for our local languages for AI models, which is something that doesn't exist here. So Balkan domination is something that will happen in the next couple of years, but we wouldn't be founders if we didn't have the completely megalomaniacal version of that plan, and that is dominating the US market as well, because I do see a need for this kind of product there. So while we are using the Balkans as a basis, we are going to land in the US firstly through Austin and Texas market, and then the expansion. The way I see hiring in the next couple of years, I think very related to this classification that I mentioned, is going to depend about the role. I think we are past the question, will AI replace HR or will AI automate recruitment? It depends. It depends on which kind of roles, and it depends on what kind of HR. If you are an administrative worker, and if you are an HR who sends messages on LinkedIn, reads resumes, and calls candidate over their phone, you should get automated. Like, you should get replaced by AI. But HRs who are productivity orchestrators, who are tech savvy, who are these small elite teams who know their workforce, know their people, I see them as being them and their ecosystem of AI agents that they are using as being the future of HR.
I can agree to that. Makes perfect sense. All right, we're gonna now go to quick and short questions for the end. Have a couple of those. Number one, for our listeners who are from the Balkans, they probably know what the Montenegrin dream is, but for everybody else who's in the US or in Europe or Middle East or Asia, talk to us about what is the Montenegrin dream, and are you looking for something like that?
You got me to stereotype Italians, Americans, and I want me to stereotype my own people as well, right? Aren't there two kinds of Montenegrin dreams, right? If you're talking about stereotypes.
All right.
One of them is to be a director in Belgrade, right?
Okay.
To move in Belgrade and run a company there. And the second Montenegrin dream is, unfortunately, to have a very stable job at the public service. And that's a huge burning problem for this country. We have the biggest number of public service and government administrative workers per capita in the world.
Really?
So I think 37% of the workforce works in government, in administration.
Oh, that's a pretty huge number.
That's horrible. And unfortunately, there's that kind of Montenegrin dreams, which if people wouldn't have guessed by my biography, I'm not striving for it. But yeah, this thing is for a director in Belgrade. Who knows if the US expansion proves slower than expected, or if we get a strong partnership there and it functions independently of my presence in the US, maybe the Montenegrin dream and having an office in Belgrade is the end result, is the end goal.
Okay, cool. I thought the Montenegrin dream was to own a villa on the seaside in Montenegro.
Oh.
That's the Serbian
That's the
dream.
Serbian dream,
Yeah. How have your work habits changed since being in the US?
I became more of a workaholic, honestly. I don't think that's maybe a positive result, because I have been working quite hard even before it. But now, after this quarter 4 ends, I think I'm gonna need to take a step back to work on work-life balance just a little bit, because I think my mother and my girlfriend forgot how I look.
All right. Final question. What question have I not asked you that you think I should have asked you and that you don't get asked often?
That's a good one. I feel a very good questions to ask any founder that is maybe not being asked so frequently, because people want to know about the biggest success, things they learned, and etc. It's a similar question, maybe framed a little bit, but if I wanted to ask a founder something and really learn about them, I would ask, if you are founding a startup with the same idea for the second time, what would you have done differently? I think there is a lot of value that lies in that question, because the entire startup life cycle is something that is packed with mistakes, with learning, with adapting, and that's why I think second time founders or even third time founders are the one that most frequently found unicorns.
Yeah.
Because they went through the pain to do the process. So if you were to ask me that, I would tell
I'm asking you that.
I would tell you that I would do things in a completely different order. We created an MVP, then searched for our ICP instead of it. And we nailed it. Okay, we were lucky, but it could have been a flop if when you firstly create a product or a solution and then find someone to buy it. And we wasted a lot of time on it. Instead, if I were founding a startup, and in fact, when I found a second startup in the next couple of years, maybe in the 10 years or so,
when Recrewty is sold and
exited and a stable business or etc. The second venture, which I will definitely found, is going to have the completely opposite order of doing things. I would firstly talk to the people who know everything about the industry and about the problem I want to change. Then I would talk to potential customers and try to narrow them down even more.
to find that niche that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I would work out the solution, the positioning, the features, way past the line.
Yeah. And you would get letters of intent before you start building the actual product.
Yeah, I am very confident that I could right now do things that I have been doing for the first 2 years of Recrewty in 3 months.
Yep. And that's what most founders figure out. But you can read any of these books, Venture Deals, The Great CEO, but in the end, you will learn only by making those mistakes. I had the pleasure of making the same mistake. We were building a B2C app for 8 months. And then when we built it, we went to different PR and media. We were on the biggest channels and the biggest media companies where we were promoting, this is our B2C app for this specific market. And then the hype was great, but nobody was using the product. So we went to the drawing board after 8 months and we spoke with the customers who we really wanted to sell to. And we completely shifted the product from a B2C app to a B2B to B platform, right? And I just thought wow, we wasted 8 to 9 months on nothing, right? But that nothing turned out to be one of the biggest learnings. And every time I speak to a founder, I tell them, don't build a product. Don't even build an MVP. You don't need an MVP. You need to figure out what you want to do, how you want to do it, and you need to not do it from your perspective, but do it from the perspective of the market. Figure out what the market needs, right?
That's probably the most frequent mistake. Our mistake and yours wasn't even so extreme. But probably the most frequent mistake when a software engineer creates a startup, they go in with all this technical knowledge and create this entire army of features and ecosystems that in the end, unfortunately, nobody uses.
And that's it for this podcast episode. So the final thing is, guys, figure out what the market needs. And talk to customers, talk to everybody in that specific market before you actually start building a product. We had an amazing talk with Danilo Đukanović, CEO of Recrewty. Thank you guys for listening and see you on the next episode.
If you're a startup founder from the Balkans, you'll eventually need a US company. To sell into the US market, use Stripe, or raise VC money. But here's the problem. US lawyers charge between $600 and $1,000 an hour. Opening a bank account as a non-resident is a nightmare. You need a US phone number, operating address, and there are a lot of hidden costs plus lawyer lingo you can't understand. This is why we have partnered with Neobase. They are a team of Balkan founders who have been exactly where you are. They're 10 times cheaper than US lawyers, and they handle everything end to end, from the corporation, bank account setup, tax filings, and basically leaving you to focus on your own business. Head to neobase.co, book a free consultation, and mention Scale SE to get 10% discount off your LLC or C Corp setup.